usually 6 to 7 synthesis ideas to move forward and to be confirmed or selected by the TOPS committee. And they do that. They're going to be doing that this year in our TOPS meeting in June 7th. So after that, or actually probably by June 1st, I will be starting to put all my panels together. So I suggest that by then you go into the website, and if you see something that you're interested in, please nominate yourself for the panel. That's completely fine. And if you want to like even do better than that, you can always send me an email and say, Mariela, you remember you said you wanted rural and tribal people, and here is my nomination. And I will look into that, because we really want to have people work on our project. So I invite you to really look at our website. We have a wonderful new web page, and if you go in, all the programs are separated, and you can go into syntheses and look at all those parts. And I think I'm just gonna stay a little longer and go through the website so you can explain it later to most people. But we have, both a lot of new syntheses that will be published soon, that talk about bus systems, redesigning bus lines, or how to do onboard survey with technology. So we have one on microtransit coming up that will be published soon. And my PIs always try to make sure that they also have a diverse group of survey agencies. So I just wanted to speak candidly and say to you all that, we are here to help out. We need ideas in the program. So it's not just, I'm asking for help as well. And please contact me at any time.
Yeah, and it's something, we'll have our contact information on the last slide. And Mariela is absolutely correct. Yeah, you don't need to know which alphabet soup. All you need to know is what issues do you have, what problems do you have. You can call RTAP, you can call any one of us, and we'll find the right program to write into with that. So that's why what you'll see on your screen now to the second question, see a list of a bunch of reports that are already available. The TCRP Transit Cooperative Research Program, and as like National RTAP, our funding comes from the Federal Transit Administration. We're very happy about that. And we also have an independent governing board that decides which things we should focus on. So that's how we make sure, like National RTAP, that we're focused on your needs, on things that are going to be helpful to you. And you can see these are just some of the projects that are focused, we think would be of interest to rural and small urban and inner city bus and tribal systems listed here under the transit program that are available. You see those in the upper half of the screen. And then the bottom half you see from the National Cooperative Highway Research Program. Now, Nchrp, that's funded collectively by the 50 state DOTs. Plus the Washington, D.C. Department of Transportation, and sometimes Puerto Rico.
And I just want to interject here that as you look at these, think about whether or not you would like to have National RTAP sponsor a webinar with any of these subjects or with any of these reports, because this is an opportunity for us to pull the pieces out that really make sense for rural areas and get you access to this great research information. So we're going to have a chance at some point, either in our survey or during this webinar, to do the polling and ask you specifically.
So one of the things you can see is the bottom half here under current projects. There are 4 particular projects under the National Cooperative Highway Research Program that would be of rural interest. So one of the best practices in marketing to increase rural transit ridership and investment, and opportunities to state DOTs and others to encourage shared use mobility practices in rural areas, as well as integrating tribal knowledge into processes to identify, evaluate, and record cultural resources. Those projects are in progress. You see that alphabet soup and number soup ahead of those? Those are just the different funding pots or programs within the National Cooperative Highway Research Program, which those projects have been funded. But I'd also like to call to your attention, the last one on that list is Nchrp 20-122. This is the rural transportation issue roadmap. And Robin is raising her fist in the air because she's very excited because she is on the panel for that. And this is a project where we're gathering, as it says, what are the needs? And we'll get to in a couple slides asking you about where do you see the needs for there to be where research could help with the issues. Go to trb.org/TCRP to the transit projects. And in the middle of the page, you see that TRB Snap Search. This is something that our library service does. And they just summarize in 2 pages what's going on right now, what's happened lately. So that's also a very easy way to access all these things, also available from our webpage. So now going to the, okay.
That's great. We're going to take a brief time for a poll right now. So let's all our audience fill out the poll. Yeah, another minute or 2. And if there's something you don't see, feel free to put it into the chat. Still getting some answers. Okay, another 10 seconds. Okay, great. We had 43% for innovative rural transit services, 86% for shared mobility, 71% for local and regional funding mechanisms, and 14% for travel training for older adults. Very excited about some new projects. Back to the webinar.
Really, it's really great to hear how interested you guys are in these things. So you're looking at right now is our webpage where the announcements are, so you can find out, which things, what new projects we're recruiting, people who can propose to carry out that work. Let them know that these projects are forthcoming.
So, I want to go to your third question. So,
like this.
Yeah.
And the third question is, so those, well, you just had the poll on was which things are you interested in hearing about that already done, and now it's a different question. What would you like to see going on in the future? So I mentioned this roadmap project, and that's intended to help pull together from all different sources what's going to help us enroll, and we'll sort out which programs to ask for funding. So let's see, what are people thinking?
We actually have another poll for you guys right now, asking you what topics and subjects you're most interested in. So you should see that on your screen.
About 10 more seconds. Okay, some great responses for that too. 38% NEMT, 50% training techniques and strategies, 13% dialysis transportation, 75% sustainability, and 63% rural coordination best practices. Be prepared for those topics in the year ahead too. Now back to the webinar.
So that is great about the sustainability. I just was on the panel and I pulled in some rural informants for that sustainability workshop, and I worked with them to develop some scalability. So when that comes out and that's published, that'll be a great chance for us to look at how we're able to make this work for rural communities and develop sustainability. And it is throughout the organization, internal, human resources. It really is a thorough look at it. And I think we were able to get some very good informants about smaller systems.
Terrific.
Yeah, wow, you guys are fantastic. So what are the next steps, Stefan, with the rural roadmap? And so that maybe people could see some of how that's going to work and some of the ideas that are in there? Yeah,
so, there were 4 workshops held. The last of those are workshops held first in conjunction with the National Rural and Intercity Bus Conference just before that in September of 2018. Then there was one at the Rural Road Safety Summit.
Yeah.
That was in Savannah in December. And then we had 2 back-to-back workshops. One was a working session with the TRB Executive Committee in January, a few weeks ago. And we did that on Wednesday at the TRB annual meeting. And then on Thursday morning, there was a half-day workshop, which is really well attended. And there are over 500 topics, ideas that people have put forward, which the research team is working to kind of knit together and trying to formulate those into clusters and groups. We'll probably end up with around 35 to 45 actual research needs or research problem statements. Right now, there are 7 that have already been submitted for consideration in the National Cooperative Highway Research Program. We'll find out in April. Those are being balloted right now in the Nchrp. They have 114 problem statements they're looking at for funding in the 2020 cycle, and 7 of those that are being considered are from the rural roadmap.
Yeah, I've always really engaged with the TRB program because I feel like we're always, I think in rural communities, we are always trying to do more with less, even before it was popular, and doing things with, maybe your resources aren't the resources that people talk about, but what do you have in your community that you can make things work with? It's the chewing gum and string and ballpoint pen way of fixing your car. But it can make programs work in really interesting ways. So there's a lot of innovation that happens in rural communities and reaching out in partnerships and in service delivery too. So I am always excited to engage with this and participate in these panels. And right now I'm working on H55, which is transportation to healthcare. And that's a process we're working to get the healthcare side engaging, which, as everyone who works in public transportation knows, is always difficult because they have a hard time understanding what it is we do. So it's been a really great opportunity for me to work with both the consultants and the project team, the panel, to talk about that. And that's the other thing about these panels is you are sitting on a panel with people who are interested, as you are, in this subject, and they are looking for answers, and you get to help define what the question is, and then you get to have someone who is researching that question at your direction. So it isn't someone else managing this, it's you. And so in the case of the transportation to healthcare, by sitting down and taking that project proposal, we really identified that people had a difficult time discussing healthcare and transportation if they were not from one of those organizations. So that healthcare organizations had a difficult time understanding how to communicate with transportation people if they wanted to improve the transportation. And human service agencies, they don't know how to talk to transportation people. I can tell you, I've been working with those. So this project sort of evolved into creating a way for anyone in those areas to figure out, how do I talk to those other people to make things happen? How do we help meet our customers' needs? And so that is really the beauty of this whole research system.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Robin. It's definitely applied research. It's not ivory tower. It's not meant, the product of the research is not meant to be put on a shelf. It is meant to be used, and it is people like you around the table that help make that useful. And certainly those on the could play a similar role.
Absolutely. I think that that's the engagement. I always thought, oh, there's professors here, and oh, there's people that manage big systems. And, you know, I end up sitting on things, on panels sometimes where I'm the only person that really has any rural perspective. And I just have to say, hey, wait a minute, can this be scaled down? Hey, are you going to talk to some people who don't have over 100 buses?
Right.
And it's really, it sounds funny, but it is really important. And I think particularly when we're doing the identification of an issue and when we're on the panel, so that that report really is usable by everyone confronting that problem.
Right, so that brings me to another point. It is very important to get engaged from the very beginning, from submitting the problem statement to then screening it down before it even gets to top, to reach the panel stage. It's very important to get engaged by submitting problem statements from the very beginning.
So the other thing,
speaking of engagement, we're going to do our final poll, which is a subject near and dear to TCRP's heart. It's about the TRB annual meeting. So this is a very easy poll.
Okay.
Let's see. We're waiting a little while, about 10 more seconds. Okay, going to close this poll, and I will say that I'm surprised at the results. From everybody who voted, nobody said that they attended TRB this year. So I did, and it was one of the best conferences in my life. So if anybody wants to talk a little bit about it.
Yes, I've been going to those conferences for more than 26 years, and I agree with you. I think it was one of the better ones that I've ever attended, both as a staffer and just as an attendee.
It always helps when it snows. And it snows most years. So for those of you, since you haven't been, the TRB annual meeting it's where lots of small committees and subcommittees, over 200 of them, they all get together in one place for 5 days. So if you're interested in rural, and maybe your portfolio includes that you're not only interested in the tribal transit and the rural or small community planning, but you also have an interest in low volume roads. All those committees are meeting during that week. And the 5,000 people who are members and regularly active put together a program. So there's I think
14,000 people.
There are 14,000 people who attend, because we get a lot of new people every year. A lot of students come. There's special rates for students, and there are about 20% of the people who attend are from other countries. Right. There's a big expo. If you've been to the CTAA expo or the APTA expo, you'd be very happy to come to this one as well. This year you could ride on an automated, fully automated autonomous bus that was inside the exhibit hall. Yes.
Well, and I know I worked at a DOT or DOTs prior to being here at RTAP, and sometimes
Okay, I don't know if anybody can hear me. The volume is gone. We are going to work on it. I'm going to put this in chat too. Oh, people can hear me. We're waiting to hear either Robin or one of the TCRP panelists. They're all in Washington, D.C. If you can hear me, Kara, up in Massachusetts, maybe you can call back in so we can hear you. I'm very sorry about this. Oh, I just heard something.
Hello.
Robin?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear. We were talking about the TRB annual meeting, during the poster sessions, you can go and talk to the authors of the papers one-on-one. And you'll also find other people who are just in the same exact topics. They all get clustered together. There's tables to sit down and continue the conversations even after the sessions, poster sessions. So.
Well, I took a bunch of cards from students that were working on transportation with parks and engaging with gateway communities, but also how different projects that they were working on, from planning through implementation in parks that are outside of urban areas or adjacent to them, and some of them in very rural areas. One was along the border. And so we feel like there's a real opportunity to interact with younger people and people who are going through school, and they're at a place in their lives where it's a great opportunity for them to see there's something besides what they're getting out of school. And so that's one of the things for our conference in Portland this year. We're doing the National RTAP Technical Assistance Conference in Portland this September. And we are doing a poster competition for students, and we do graduate students and on the ground. And I basically got all the cards from those people at TRB so that we can get some of those posters at our conference.
Very cool. Terrific. And we have a career fair as part of the TRB annual meeting. That's usually on Sunday from 10 to 2. They'll give you feedback on your resume, help you polish that up. And this year we actually had a photo booth where you get professional headshots, and those are free, and they're done on site at the TRP booth in the exhibit hall. We're gonna do those again next year.
Okay, so I'm gonna put up the contact information for you guys so that going forward you know how to get a hold of Stefan, Glenn, and Mariella. And we can help you go down the road to research, not just rural research, but engaging with innovation and change so that we can stay on top of it. And oh, we have a question. Yeah. So if you guys have questions, please, we're available to answer any questions you might have about these programs. Just put in the chat box or raise your hand. And we would be happy to take your questions if you want to find out what's going on.
I'm unmuting everybody too.
Wow.
I think she unmuted everybody. I can hear you. Yeah, okay. So would anybody like to ask a question?
Or suggest a topic?
Oh, Michael Lockman.
Just to the audience, I have a quick question. Was anyone surprised by the results of the polling in terms of topics or areas of interest, and as well as research projects that they're interested in pursuing? Was there something that we were not able to put up on the screen that you're interested in and would like the staff to know? All answers are welcome.
Okay, I think people need to put their answers in the chat box because the sound is really awful. Kara, can you put everyone back on mute?
Yeah, just did that. Some people are self-muted also.
Yeah, and maybe we could have people raise their hands if they have questions. And then we can unmute individually because that was difficult. Yay. So earlier we mentioned that if you guys could, if you wanted to, well, we took a poll, so we'll look at bringing in webinars that address the issues that you identified as in the poll that you wanted to learn more about. And definitely with the issues that were brought up, RTAP will work with TCRP and TRB to either bring people in from the reports, and so that we can access like the regional coordination best practices in rural areas and the sustainability. But if we see other things that we're able to work with you on, we will be able to bring people, subject matter experts in that area together and use the reports to answer some questions. So if you're interested in these things, just let us know and stay tuned for the National RTAP calendar and in the e-news where Tara always puts information about what we're doing next.
And what TCRP and all the other TRB organizations do, because they have not just, you know, these reports, but they have excellent webinars and other learning experiences. So I know we have some in our upcoming e-news and calendar, and there's always something going on for learning from TRB.
We also have a link on the TCRP's website for any past webinars that you might be interested in, and we also announce all of the upcoming webinars as well. So if there are any past webinars that you think you may have missed, if you scroll down a bit.
Then scroll down.
Yeah.
Well, this
This is a
is
picture.
a picture
If you
of
go
it.
live to the TCRP site,
Yeah.
yeah, we could show you exactly where.
Yeah, and you know, our conference, our technical assistance conference in September will have some of these issues and have people that will speak to these some of the reports.
Mm-hmm.
So your input on that can help us make sure that those people are at our conference and are sharing information. So Stefan has just brought up a live copy of where their site is, and so he's going to show you a little bit about how their site works.
So just from the TRB website, just trb.org/TCRP, scroll down to webinars, and what we're looking at now is a screen of the past webinars. And I know the type is small, but if you do this yourself, you'll be able to see. You can access all the webinars on here.
Dating back to
So,
2015.
Yeah, so going back to, for 3-4 years now. So, for example, I'm looking at successful mobility practices in small urban and rural transit rural areas. And I'm just clicking on that field to see what it is. So here's the webinar. You can look at just the slides, or you can watch and listen to the archived webinar itself. So we do TRB does about 100 webinars a year. In TCRP, we do about a half a dozen each through TRB and through the National Transit Institute. That's the shared mobility. Let's go back.
Yeah, 86% of you were interested in learning more about shared mobility. And as we all know, shared mobility takes many forms. It's not just Uber and Lyft, but it's riding with someone you know to work or to school, or it's working with transit so that you carpool or vanpool sometimes to a transit stop. So there's a bunch of
This includes bike sharing, car sharing, and micro transit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so on the shared mobility, local and regional funding mechanisms, I'm just trying to get to a couple of these things.
Oh, that's great.
Well,
That's it. These are so available, and you know the thing is that might be something that we could work with the RTAP review board to identify some of these that look good, and have them look at them. And then, I mean, I think Nellie is learning a lot about transportation here. So
Oh.
We're about to, here's a sneak peek.
More of a sneak peek than I intended, but
Yeah.
so this is the webinar we did on the strategy guide converting fixed transit facilities. Yeah, I'm just going to try and get out of this one.
They're on YouTube, interesting.
Yeah, we do, we post our webinars and, like this will be posted on YouTube.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, so that's a webinar from we did with National Transit Institute. They've been partners with us going way back.
That's great. So one of the things I brought up the conference that we're doing in the fall. Please go to our conference website and give us your, propose the sessions that you want, whether or not you have the speakers. And we can help find the speakers for the sessions that you want to have, if we're able to get those in. And we are looking for ways and looking forward in this coming year to work closely with TCRP and TRB to increase the access that we have in rural communities. Yeah, the due date for the proposals for our conference is the end of February.
Great.
So maybe we should go back to the closing slide, and so that they can look at your contact information and we are learning our technical process here this time, and it's both a new office and new computers. I mean, we have basically a perfect storm. I mean, luckily we have Kara in Woburn who does know what she's doing.
And Nellie's been terrific here as well. So here you are again with our contact information. Any of us are happy to help you, and we'll help you figure out which alphabet to the TRB to bring your thoughts of what project should be carried out. And our librarians are happy to help you find things if we can't find them directly for you.
Super.
Well, thank you. The presentation is a handout on your control panel. It'll be on our website later today, as well as the recording. So we always like questions from the audience, and even a quiet audience. So is there any burning question anybody has for our TCRP experts? Because now is a great time to have it answered. You want to know how you can participate in the research, or just a little bit more about it, now's the time. You can chat it, you can question it, or you can raise your hand.
So Mariella and Stefan, I just have a quick question for you. What particular topics or areas of interest that the webinar participants had were you most surprised about? And what's the future regarding that type of research?
Go ahead, because I can't remember what it was.
So you're talking about for your poll results?
Yeah.
So the 86% interested in shared mobility and transformation, public transportation. That's really, really cool. To me, that's surprising. Because for, back in the day, we were just trying to get enough drivers and buses to carry people.
Right.
So that's really, really cool. I'm not too surprised that 71% are interested in local and regional funding mechanisms. Money, actually, I would expect that to be higher, right? Because money's always been an issue. But 43% being interested in innovative rural transit services. Well, that just tells me how diverse your audience is. That It's not just focused on rural, but you're also looking at small urban and even folks that have crossed the boundary.
Yeah, it's interesting to me, the knowledge management is something that I hadn't really thought about a whole lot until I stumbled into it at TRB one time, the Knowledge Management Task Force. And Kara on our team in Woburn has done a lot of work around maintaining and cleaning up our collections to keep it relevant and focused on the rural program. But there is we were informants for TCRP project on knowledge management and training. And Yeah, they highlighted the work that we have done and that we do around doing knowledge management for the rural transit program.
Oh, I see. And I see that there's a lot of interest as well in non-emergency medical transportation, training techniques and strategies. So we just had the report coming out on training techniques. So you'll definitely want to check that out. Same thing for those of you interested in dialysis transportation, the specific project on that. And then sustainability, 75% being interested in that. That was, to me, was surprisingly high. But that's very, very cool. What's the point of doing it if you can't keep it going?
Yep.
Without damaging the environment.
Yep. Yeah,
that brings up that there's a lot of TCRP panels that are available, and you don't have to do full participation. You can be a friend of a TCRP research panel and just sort of sit in and learn and maybe occasionally participate. That's how I jumped with the knowledge management one. It's very easy to do that right from the website.
Yeah, I think you're talking about our TRB committees and that you can be a friend of. Those are the 200 standing committees that we have. There's about 30 of those that are involved in public transportation. People from the annual meeting. And the committees, those are open. It's free. You can become a friend, and you immediately are on the email chain with everybody else who's concerned with that topic. That's different from our technical panels that manage the projects. Those we're not friendly. We don't have friends.
Yeah, invitation only. But what I did find with the committees is that if you friend them, they'll send you papers to review. They'll work with you. I work with the Accessibility and Mobility Committee. I work with the Innovative Technology Committee. I'm sitting on I get information from the military communities. And looking for military transportation for people. So it is a way to really engage with the process and get your information and your interests and issues out there. And that is very friendly. Those committees they're always looking for people to do work.
And TCRP should also know, and you might want to talk a little bit, Stefan, about how the process has changed. And we used to have a committee that I would say under the Nchrp program that was dedicated only to rural concerns, and that has since changed, and you may want to talk a little bit about the new structure.
Yes, so you're talking about the AASHTO, the American Association of Highway and Transportation Officials. So AASHTO is a trade association, but it's all public agencies, it's all state DOTs. And a little over a year ago, a year and a half ago now, they totally reorganized. They did away with their old committee structure, and the new structure, they, instead of having a public transportation committee, they now have a public transportation council, it's a policy group. And in parallel with the changes they had for their committees, there's a change also in the funding structure, where it used to be for the standing committee on environment and public transportation, and there were a couple of others that had their own dedicated streams of funding. They did away with that, said, no, we're just going to support the committees in their work, and if you want projects, you have to compete with everything else. So some of you may know it's the old 20-65 series of research, which is still being carried out because it was still being funded last year. The 20-65 series doesn't have any new funding going to it. And so you need to get the Public Transportation Council to submit things or support them. If you want to get a full-on project in the National Cooperative Highway Research Program, it can only be submitted by an AASHTO committee, by a state DOT, or the Federal Highway Administration. But the good news is for rural, we have this project to gather up those ideas and make them visible to those groups. And so the Rural Research Roadmap will do that based on this one-time basis. But who's going to do that going forward? That's an open question. So we're waiting to see. Maybe AASHTO will form a group on it. Maybe there'll be a joint subcommittee at TRB. The Rural Research Roadmap doesn't have an owner yet. After it's completed, right now it's a project.
Right, and I think the good thing about it is there's a lot of ideas in there, as Stefan was saying, and that if you are a state DOT, you're one of the people that is able to propose, and so work with your research program to get those proposals moved forward. If you are a transit manager and you're running into this, let any of us know here in DC, or talk to your state program manager and talk to them about getting this research idea into the state program. The Nchrp and the TCRP, so the state program and the transit cooperative program, are two different funding pots. So those are two bites of the apple for a project. And so the understanding and identifying that, you can work with any of us to help refine that proposal, and you have a chance to either propose it through the TCRP program on your own, or work with your state DOT to propose it through the Nchrp program.
I think the bottom line is that, as Stephen said in his opening remarks, is that it really doesn't matter. You come up with the idea, we'll help you get it through the right program. And so that's an important takeaway, I think.
Yes, definitely.
And then a final question, maybe, speaking to all the panelists, is there a way for attendees of this to contact each other or to communicate and maybe formulate ideas before presenting to TCRP?
They could potentially do that through us at RTAP.
Since you're hosting the webinar,
Yep.
well, yeah, contact Robin. I think if you had her information, or Nellie, if your information was on there,
Yeah.
outreach to folks on the invitation, the webinar, that'd be great. We have all these different, because we have these different deadlines for different programs, we'll just sort it out with you, and we're happy to help.
And this year is not the last time these
Nope.
programs will be soliciting ideas. It'll be happening again next year. And so there is a chance for us to work on those things. And potentially that would be a workshop at the conference, is writing a synthesis proposal. Yep, writing a research proposal. And I think that is a really important thing, because, it's not like we do it all the time. So working with, it's sort of like grant writing, except it shines a light in areas where we can see no way through. And so it can help us find those new pathways.
That's great.
Super. I think that we've reached the end of our webinar, Kara. And we have, I think, covered a whole lot of territory and talked about a lot of the stuff that's out there, and I gained new insight into what's actually on the TCRP website. And I am really excited now to turn Nellie loose on this. Well, and me, I am excited to see some of those webinars that I know that I missed, and I think that we're going to look at ways that we can utilize those webinars that are online and work with our crew and our people, our rural constituents. So thank you so much, and please, we'll be sending out a survey. Tara, do you want to do the closing, that we send out a survey and things are going to be up on the web later this week?
Yeah, we'll have the slides and recording up on the web by tomorrow, and we'll send the survey out to all attendees tomorrow. So we look forward to your feedback, and thank you for your participation, and certainly thank you very much to Gwen, Mariella, and Stephen for preparing all this and giving a great overview of just the tip of the iceberg of what TCRP has. I know probably everybody is looking for a chance to learn more and get involved.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.